It's all happening. I can't rest. It's converging. It's all happening at one time, and I can't take it anymore. What to do in a season of transition, a season of birthing. Well, today I'm going to start off with a story of my second born. As I was going to the hospital for him to be born, I was happy go lucky. I was feeling like, hey, I can do this. This is not my first rodeo, and I can go into this knowing what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to bring my son home. I already had my daughter, and here I was going to come home with a little boy. I was beyond excited. And as I entered the hospital, I was happy because I knew that, yes, this was going to be hard, but I'd already done this before and I could do it again. You know, women are built for this. We can do this. So a couple hours go along and everything starts to progress and it starts to get more and more intense. Contractions start coming on, and where as I first came into the hospital, I could talk through contractions. As we were there for a little while, things started to become so intense that I couldn't talk through the contractions. And then it got to a point where one contraction began to converge on another. There wasn't hardly a break in between them. I felt like I was almost drowning. I couldn't breathe. And I was looking back going, okay, I do remember this happening with my daughter. Why am I doing this again? What have I done? And I looked up at my midwife, and with tears in my eyes, I uttered words to her that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. You see, today I want to give you 3 vital focuses that I do not want you to lose sight of so that you can see the other side of your transition, the other side of your birthing, the other side of your breakthrough. The very first thing that I want you to do in this season and in this time is recognize it. Because the Israelites, even though they had been freed, many of these Israelites, they longed to go back to Egypt. They did not recognize the season that they were in. And so they looked backwards. They started to regress. They started to prefer the oppression of the former season. So if you do not recognize where you are, the season that you are in, then you will be walking in a freedom in the current season that it is providing for you, and you will not recognize it. You will not have that faith that is required for this transition. The old ways of thinking, if you're looking backwards like the Israelites were doing, the old ways of thinking will not work in this new season. And this transition, the faith that you need moving forward, will look too daunting. It will look like you can't do it. All of these contractions, all of this pressure will converge. And if you do not recognize the season for what it is and realize that it is just that, a season, it will end. And on the other side of it is happiness, breakthrough. If you do not recognize it, you will think that it will go on forever. It's amazing what you can endure for a short period of time when you realize that it's just a short period of time. And the Israelites, as they were walking through this, they didn't recognize that it was a season. They didn't recognize that it was transition, and they didn't have the faith to see what they were going into. All they could think about was what it was like before. So they didn't have the faith for this current season that they were in. And the old ways of thinking will not work for what you are headed to. Now, I want you to focus on this because it's very, very vital that you spend no time attempting to reason with God. When God gives you a word, when he sends you out on a mission, he doesn't need your approval. He needs you to just simply say, yes, sir, and do it. See, when he sent the 12 spies out on a mission, he sent them to establish a plan for what they were going to do when they went in, not to decide if they could seize the land. You see, when God tells you what to do, don't see if you can do it. Just see how you are going to do it. God says to do it, you say, yes, sir, and you do it. Do not ask God for clarification once he starts the process. Just go forward. If you make mistakes, he is a gracious God, but just move forward. Again, do not look back. Move forward. The place that you are currently in may be comfortable, but don't think that it is a part of God's plan just because you're comfortable. Because Ishmael was blessed, but Ishmael was Abraham's attempt to accomplish God's plan with his own might. What you have to do is you have to recognize God's way and not deviate from it. So if you're comfortable, that could be an indication that it may not be God's way, because God is going to use uncomfortable situations to sharpen you. Iron sharpens iron. So that's what you have to focus on. You have to focus on what you are capable of in this season through the Almighty God, not through your own might. You see, you are called, you are chosen for this season. And that brings me to, I'm getting ahead of myself. That brings me to point number 2. Point number 2 is do not lose your shout. Do not lose your praise. Because seasons of transition, seasons of birthing can be tough. But you are called. You are chosen. You are equipped. Suffice it to say, if you are going through this, it's because you are uniquely equipped, and the devil will try to steal your creative power and your voice. He will try to get you to stay silent where it matters. But let me tell you this, everything that you have been through is preparation for what God is bringing you to. I want you to type, I have been called, in the comments down below. Now, I am not going to take too much time on this because I've talked about it before in previous videos. I'll link them to the end, but I have a biblical praise e-course, and this e-course is not for everyone. This is for warriors. This is for those that know that their praise matters. It's a mini e-course. It doesn't take very long to go through. But if you feel like you are in a season where you need words to put to this knowing, this inner knowing that praise is warfare, that you know that you are called, you are chosen, you are equipped, and you are being attacked, and you would like some words to put to your praise, just so you've got this inner knowing that this is for you, this warfare is for you, then check out the link in the description. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but when you are in transition, that is a time that praise matters the most. It matters the most because you do not want the devil to steal your shout. It is very important in this time, in this season, in this birthing process, that you do not lose your shout. Now, the third thing that I do not want you to lose sight of in this season, in this time, is that you need to act and respond accordingly. You need to control any anger or manipulation that you need to be, let me back up. You need to watch out for any control or any anger or manipulation that comes, because they will appear as signs of fear in others that come around you. You see, people like things to stay the same. So when you see anger, when you see people trying to control the situation or even to try to manipulate the season that you know that God is calling you into, just realize that they aren't in that same season. that you are. And just be prepared that others around you may want to manipulate, control, any of those types of things in this season of transition because they're afraid of maybe what you're stepping into and maybe the fact that you may be leaving their sphere of influence, connection, different things like that. Just recognize that anger or whatever's going on as love. And that they just don't want to see you depart or see change. They may just be fearful. Try to take any criticism or misunderstandings in stride. Be sure to act and respond accordingly, because the people that are closest to you will frequently oppose you really the most. And it can hurt. But if you recognize it, if you don't lose your shout, and then if you act and respond accordingly, this will help you through this season. Hebrews 10:36 says, "For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what you have been promised." If this has helped you, please like this message. It'll tell YouTube that, hey, it's okay message. You can share this out to other people. And if you would be willing to share this on your social media, it would bless my Southern heart. And if you want to bless my little Southern socks off, you can comment down below and let me know where you're watching from. Subscribe so that you know so that you know when more of these videos are coming out, because I'm coming out with these videos weekly. But if you do not recognize growth, you may mistreat those that are around you. That's the important thing that I want you to take away from all of this, because growth, transition, seasons will come. And they may just leave you behind in the dust if you're not careful. And I also want you to realize that when you are birthing something, you are forever changed. Because what happens to you, not only during that process, but what happens to you as you birth this new thing, this new precious baby of a thing, you're forever changed. You're never going to go back to who you were before. And the old ways of thinking they're not going to work for you in this new season, because you may be headed into a season of sleep deprivation. Any parents in the house know what I'm talking about. But as you go through this, you will be one person, and anybody that's birthed will know what I'm talking about here. You will be one person at 2 centimeters and a whole nother person at 8 centimeters. But it will come. And if you try to stop it, it's going to hurt more. If you lament and just try to go back to the old ways of thinking, it's not going to work. It's going to come on. It will not change the fact that it's coming. It just won't. So go on ahead and embrace this season that you are in. It happened for me when I was giving birth to my son. You see, let's go back to the story that I started at the beginning of this. When a few hours earlier, I had been happy-go-lucky. I had been just excited to see my son coming into the world. My second child, this was going to be just great. I knew that it was going to be a lot of hard work. I had already done this before, but I was excited for the things to come. And then as contractions started to converge, as the pressure came on, I started to feel like, I don't know what is going to happen to me, but I don't think that my body's cut out for this. And with tears streaming down my face, I looked up at my midwife and I said, I can't do this. And she looked back at me and smiled. And now I can laugh about it. But at the time, it wasn't so funny, because she knew something that I had lost sight of. She knew that in a transition season, a woman will often say, I can't do this. In that time, in that season, she will often feel like it's all happening. I can't rest. It's converging. It's all happening at one time, and I can't take it anymore. But what my midwife knew, and I had lost sight of, was that it was just a season. It was a short period of time, and the transition phase of labor is generally the shortest. It's right before that baby comes into this world and your life is forever changed. So what I want to encourage you with today is that if you feel like you can't do it, you are right on the edge, right on the brink of your breakthrough. It's just a season, and it's a very short one. You can do it. It's amazing what you can endure for a short period of time. God is with you. He will not leave you. He will not forsake you. If you are going through this, you are called, you are equipped, and you are chosen. You can do this. I'm here for you.